In this video, I'm going to share on how I manage a team. So my name is Haris. I'm the founder of EduGrow. I helped my previous company grow from 6 to 7 figures. And I did have a team that I manage and also lead. So there were people from marketing, sales, operation, and also tutors or instructors or teachers who are both part-time and full-time. So let's get started on the first one, which I think is a bit something that people don't really think about, but it's actually very important. So the first one is communication channel. So I personally will not recommend to not use WhatsApp for any tasks delegation. So you might have a team and then you probably say, okay, can you do this task and then put inside WhatsApp, right? And then most of the time, the WhatsApp have other messages from other team members, and then another message, and then another message, and then you'll be might wondering, okay, have they done the task? And eventually, what happens? They forgot to do the task because in WhatsApp, it's usually very flooded very fast. So what I recommend is to use this thing called a thread communication. Because in a team communication, it's very important. When you're a small team, generally it's okay because you can just, WhatsApp and all that. But then once your team get bigger and bigger, that's why you need something to, handle the amount of communication through different teams, right? So for example, in a thread communication, you have a task that you assign to someone or to a team, right? And then the cool thing is that you then have comments below it or inside this task. So it creates a thread. So you can see that the information is now a bit more concise, and anything that's related to the important task that you have is related to the comments that you've added. And if you have another important task, then the comments will be related to the important task. So this gives a very good, I would say, view to see what tasks that you need to do. Is it done? Are there comments that you need to put in as well? So you might be thinking, okay, so which one to use if I'm not going to use WhatsApp? So I'm not saying not to use WhatsApp. I think WhatsApp is good if you want to have, I would say, very fast communication. I think that's something that in the previous company it was good, but than that, from my experience after working with a team, working with clients, the best is honestly using thread communication. So these are different tools that you can use. So if you are someone who is I want as simple as possible kind of communication, then I think most or all of this what I recommend is pretty good. So in terms of communication, if you're able to afford Slack, I would recommend Slack. Otherwise, Telegram would do. It has the thread communication. You need to set up here and things like that. Discord, we did it as well. It's just one thing is that Discord actually will just, make a message or a thread to disappear after 7 days, which is not that great. So Telegram is a bit better. Slack will be good. And then you can explore, but these are the recommended because they are pretty good as well. In terms of task management, so there is a difference between communication and also task management. So to communicate for projects and whatnot, it's good that you have it into a Slack, for example. But then you want to track your tasks, I would recommend you to use a different software. You can use Todoist, it's very, very simple. Or you can use Trello, which is also pretty simple to use. Or you can even use Google Sheets, right? So for most of you who have no experience in terms of sort of tasks or even project management, these tools are pretty simple enough. Then there are other tools out there that is also a bit more, I would say, comprehensive, a lot more features that actually help. So I'm using ClickUp. It's a lot, but if you are able to maneuver that, it actually can be very useful. So for me, start with simple, get used to the flow, and then maybe try something new, better, faster, that kind of thing. So usually start simple and then slowly work your way up. So most of the time, I think you should also tell to the team that whatever you're using is not the permanent solution. There's going to be things that are coming out now that's way better, and you probably will migrate, which happens a lot. That's why I'm moving. I went through three different phase when I'm running right now EduGrow. So I'm using one, and then I changed to Asana. Then I'm now changing to ClickUp. So it's very normal. All right. So other than the communication channel, or I would say the task management, the next thing is to document. So when I was trying to lead the team of tutors or instructors or teachers, right, I need to create something that they can follow because I'm not going to sit there and watch them teach because I have better things to do. So one thing that helped a lot was to create a document of all the things that need to do one day before, 30 minutes before, and then during the class and after the class as well. So these are a simple example of how you do it. You can even write in a piece of paper if you want to, but you can open up Google Docs and just put, like, for example, one day before the class, go through the lesson slides. It sounds normal to most teachers, but some teachers don't do that. So that is something that you need to do, right? Remember, something that is normal to you might not be normal to a lot of people. Then maybe say arrive 30 minutes before class starts, so that at least 30 minutes, if something happens, you can change a room and whatnot. And then when students come in, greet them, right? Good morning, how are you, hey, just a simple greeting. Close the door when lesson starts, so that the noise outside is not being added from your lesson. And when lesson ends, make sure everyone does the feedback, right? And the thing is that this is just version 1. So version 2 might be, okay, you might highlight at the end, or you might feedback. Actually, not all the students do the last part. They don't do the feedback. Is there a better way to have everyone do the feedback, right? Then that's where you and your supervisor or the founder yourself can discuss what ways, because feedback is very important. Then maybe you say, oh, maybe if every month everyone does the feedback, we're going to have a pizza party, something like that. So this gives a good way for you to improve on your documentation, so that it becomes more effective and more efficient along the way. Like I said, this is a living document, meaning that it will always get updated. And then you also have very good teachers who put in their best practices in terms of teaching. And this not only improves the document, but improves everyone reading the document. So it's a more scalable way to manage a team. So, right, living document, it will consistently get updated. So this is very important. This is boring work. I tend to like it because it helps me not to do the stuff that I don't want to do, and that's great, right? So that is something that you can start with, right? Document. So it's just simple instructions that literally what you do before a lesson, after, during the lesson as well. So the next thing is, when you create a document, you can't just let them see the document and expect them to do exactly what you think they will do, because most of the time they will make mistakes. So then you have to demonstrate how you expect them to actually, for example, teach. So, for example, as a teacher, you probably have some recordings of a lesson. If you don't, I'll recommend you to do a recording. And it's pretty simple. Just get a stand, and then just put a camera over there, and then just record yourself teaching. And the thing is that when you record yourself teaching, you will see there are certain things that you do that not other teachers do, that makes your lessons a bit better, a bit more enjoyable, a bit more fun to go to. And that is where you can tell your teachers or other teammates that, hey, next lesson, can you do this and see what happens? Because this is always about trial and error, and you are improving not only the document, but improving everyone else. Remember, when your document improves, make sure to also update everyone else, and then make sure that they follow as well. So also have a checklist, which later on I'm sharing this. So checklist for them to always have to, in a way, follow. And the thing is that if everyone follows the checklist exactly what you've written down, is there a chance that almost every single lesson will be a good lesson? Yes, of course, because they literally just follow every single thing. And then SOP is standard of procedures, which are essentially just instructions. And the thing is that if you are able to do that, now you can blame the document first. And if the document is already up to the standard that you want, but the person didn't follow, then it's a person's problem. The thing is that if the document is the problem, you are at fault, because you are the founder, you want to grow the business, right? But if the document has been already pretty well documented, then yeah, that's where the person issue is, and which later on I will share. The next one is to duplicate. So what do I mean by that? So now you have document, now you have demonstrate how it should work and all the checklists and SOPs and document. The next thing is for them to start teaching. But the thing is that you might, for me, I generally just let the teacher teach, because that's the fastest way someone will learn. But if you have time and effort, then you can go through a trial lesson, maybe one lesson with students, and see how it goes. and to know how well it goes, I think I mentioned a lot of times, make sure that you have a feedback system or as simple as a feedback form. Or you can create a mock-up lesson as well. I've gone through it before as a previously as a freelance teacher. I had to go through like their lesson materials, and I have to teach on the spot. And luckily, I managed to pass. Right. So these are things to take note of. And the thing is that once someone has done a lesson, then you need to give feedback as fast as possible. The best feedback is always from students, right? Because they are the ones who is learning from the teacher. But you could also give feedback. So it is what I call a feedback loop. And the thing is that if a student were to give feedback to the teacher and the teacher improves from the feedback, then the teacher is able to teach better. And once the teacher is able to teach better, then the student will have a better learning experience. And then it will go the same loop over and over again. And this is how I managed my teachers back then in my previous education business, because number one, they literally will see the feedback once a student completed a feedback form. And the thing is that I didn't have to tell the teachers what they need to improve. They can see the feedback and they improve from it. And then slowly they get better and better. It takes time, right? It takes time. And the thing is, once they got the hang of it, that's it. And the thing for me is just, oh, I'll just say, hey, have you seen the feedback? Because I also see the feedback, right? So you also need to see the feedback, right? So that at least they know how serious feedback is and they improve on it as well, right? And you can also give your own feedback if you want to. And if you really, really want to, have a very good feedback loop, then make sure that every single lesson is recorded so that you can see how the lesson was being done very well or done not so well, right? So yes, I recommend to create a feedback form for every single lesson. Then the next one is something that I also have mentioned, which is values as well, right? So how I did during my team was that during the quarterly review. So if you don't have a quarterly review, or quarterly means every 3 months, then I recommend you to do it, because this is how you prioritize what needs to be done in 3 months, right? You can do it monthly review as well, but quarterly review, because generally people will take at most 3 months to get up to speed. Most of the time, maybe 6 months, 2 quarters, but 3 months should be enough, I feel. So the thing is that every quarter, end of the quarter, so January, February, March, at the end of like March, for example, then that's where we will go through this thing called a values baseline kind of thing. So this is a rubric to see whether they have showed the three values. And the thing is that I've done it before, and sometimes, people actually pass or even get better. So, for example, your values are open to feedback, caring, and make it simple, right? So Sarah, for example, a hypothetical employee, she's got classes for every single thing. Classes means they show it most of the time, and this is good. So she stays in the company, right? But there are times where this happens, where someone did not fit into our values or did not show. So negative minus means they don't show these values at all or very little. So this Samantha is not open to feedback at all, or Karen. So another thing is to also, when you were to do this kind of quarterly review, what I did was that I put in exact things that they didn't, basically evidence for both pluses and minus, or plus minus is half half, right? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and you're sometimes okay with it, right? Which is okay. But for example, for Samantha, you need to say you're not open to feedback because on this day I tried to give you feedback, but you didn't listen, and the problem remains the same. So we don't want this kind of culture to be in this company, because we clearly state in the onboarding. So this is also part of onboarding. In onboarding, that you need to be open to feedback, because this is how we grow as a company. All right, that's how you should say it to someone. Versus when you fire someone, I feel like you're not fit, then they don't know why. So they need to know why, and it's very clear cut if they can see this, right? It's very open to see all of the different values, because everyone is judged, including myself, lah, right, back then, of the values. And we, as the founder or the leader of the company, should be, the baseline of the values, right? So this is where you can either fire someone, or you can go through this like 3 month plan, right? People call it PIP, right? Something improvement plan, performance improvement plan. So you give them time to improve on the values that they are not, you know, passing, right, in a sense. And this is something that is a bit more systematic, because this gives you a way for you to say these are the things that you didn't hit, please hit it. And you also create a plan with them on how they can improve, right? You can't just say, oh, you suck, in 3 months if you don't improve, bye bye, right? It's like, be a good employer as well. Give them time and some actionables for them to improve. So for example, Samantha, when I say that you are not a very maybe during the lesson you tend to scold to students, you can also need to define what scolding means, right? Sometimes you say like, when I see students you are shouting at the students. So what I recommend is to, number one, don't raise your voice to a student. Number two, if you feel angry, then maybe you just take a step back, no, don't say anything, and then if you can calm down in that moment and then see how you can help the student, that will be great. So you give actionable steps, and also make sure you have a document on how to improve. So everything must be documented, because nobody remembers everything that you say. Put it down, both sides, and then move on, right? And then at least they can refer back to what that has been agreed on, and then you can improve on it. And if it's not improved, at least you have the document to say, I clearly say this is how to improve, and it seems that you're not improving, and maybe this is the 3 month plan, or even a three strike thing. So if they scold again, one strike, scold again, two strike, score again, three strike, and you're out. Right. So there's many ways to do it. You can also kick them up as early as possible. This is just a guide, but it depends on your situation. So if you feel like, I think one strike is enough, no need three strikes, then do it. Right. But this is something very hard to do, which is the last part, having hard conversations. So there are times where I had to give hard conversations to my ex-employees before, because number one, they lied to me, even though it's a, you might think it's a small white lie, but I don't like read, like it doesn't, integrity is very important. Right? So that's not a non-negotiable for me. Integrity. So I had to do a hard conversation with one of my ex-employee. So what I did was I googled how to do it. Thanks to Leila Humuzi, she actually has a video on how to do hard conversations, whether it is to tell them that they have done something bad, or you want to hire. She actually has a whole structure. But essentially, number one, I would recommend is to write down what you want to say, because that's what I did. I literally say right now. So I told the ex-employee, hey, why we're here is because you lied to me during this time, right? So basically, go straight to the point. Don't say how's your day, because they already know that this, conversation is not going to go so well, right? So you need to tell them what they have done wrong, why it is wrong, and what you expect. So if you were to, fire them on the spot, then say it, right? So I would recommend that the founder or the leader should be the one doing the firing. Some of you, might be like me, where I am not saying I'm good at firing, because I haven't fired anyone, but I'm good at hard conversations, because to me, emotions doesn't play a huge part in running a business. And for me, it's like, it's very direct, right? For some might be emotional to your end, but running a business requires, I mean, other than being emotional, but at the same time, you also need to be logical as well. So yes, you might have worked for the person for quite some time, but if this person is affecting the culture of the company, culture means it's affecting the morale of the people around. Even though this person can teach well and whatnot, but it's destroying everybody's motivation to work, I don't think this is a amplifier, but more of a person who brings people down. That's something that you need to talk about. And when you want to improve on someone's behavior, make it very specific. Otherwise, it's like, hey, don't be a dick. It's like, what do you mean by that? Can you be less of myself? Can I be less of myself? Like, kind of like, so, but there are certain things that they do that makes it feel like they are an asshole. For example, right, scolding, right? Can you don't scold? What do you mean by scold? Raising your voice. Don't shout, right? Don't point the finger. Just relax and then breathe in, count 10 seconds, and then at a very low volume, just say out on what things that can be helpful to the student, not what you think, right? That kind of thing. So these are things to take note of now. So I would say that is about it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're excited on wanting to manage a team, I think great, because for me, I genuinely like to manage a team. Like for me, okay, I mean, I'm pretty good at teaching because I've been teaching for a while, but managing a team is something that I really enjoy because number one, I don't know, I just like it. But I mean, I do have improvements to make, right? Being accountable and setting how the team to actually improve on their work. So these are things that I'm working on, but at the same time, this is something that I believe I will get better along the way. So with that said, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.